It has been almost a year since I posted my first video here on YouTube, and I came to the realization that I have never posted a video on the Spanish royal family, so here is a start. Today we are looking at the life of Victoria Eugenie of Battenberg, who became Queen Consort of Spain through her marriage to Alfonso XIII. Victoria did not have an easy start in her new home country. As she and Alfonso were riding in their carriage after the wedding reception, they nearly faced death during an assassination attempt on their lives. Later, her husband would blame her for spreading hemophilia into the Spanish royal family as two of her sons inherited the disease. But I am getting ahead of myself. Let us go back to the beginning. Our story starts in Scotland in 1887. Queen Victoria is in her 50th year on the throne, and her Golden Jubilee was celebrated in June of that year. It is during this joyful year that Princess Victoria Eugenie of Battenberg was born on October 24th at Balmoral Castle, the Scottish residence of the British royal family since 1852. Victoria was the daughter of Prince Henry of Battenberg and Princess Beatrice. Her father originated from the Grand Ducal family of Hesse and by Rhine. However, her father was the result of a morganatic marriage, and Victoria would have actually only been styled as Serene Highness if there wasn't a royal warrant her grandmother, Queen Victoria, issued. The Queen granted all of the children of Henry and Beatrice the style of Highness. Victoria's mother, Princess Beatrice, was the fifth daughter and youngest child of Queen Victoria. When Queen Victoria was widowed in 1861, she became ever more dependent on Beatrice, as most of her elder children had already married. To prevent Beatrice from also marrying and moving away, she refused to discuss any marriage proposals. The grieving queen relied on her youngest daughter as a personal secretary and companion. However, after a year of persuasion, Beatrice was allowed to marry Prince Henry of Battenberg, but only on the condition that the couple would continue to live with her. And so it comes that Victoria Eugenie grew up in the household of her grandmother. She spent her childhood at Windsor Castle, Balmoral, and at Osborne House. It is therefore no wonder that Victoria was close to her maternal grandmother. She would later remark that Queen Victoria was like a second mother to her. She described the Queen as kind but strict. After the death of Queen Victoria, the younger Victoria and her family moved into Kensington Palace. In 1905, King Alfonso XIII visited Britain. He was invited to a state dinner by the then King Edward VII. While enjoying his meal, he noticed Victoria, who was seated across the table. He asked the people around him about the young beauty and quickly found out her name. After Alfonso left, he continued to write Victoria many letters. However, Alfonso's mother, the Dowager Queen Consort of Spain, Maria Cristina of Austria, was not approving of Victoria. She thought of her as not being of equal rank due to her father's side of the family and wished for her son to marry someone from her own family, the Habsburgs. In addition, it was well known around the royal courts of Europe that Queen Victoria had spread hemophilia to her descendants. Victoria's own brother was hemophilic, so the chances that Victoria was a carrier of the gene stood at 50%. However, none of these concerns stopped Alfonso. After a year of rumors on which Princess Alfonso would marry, the engagement to Victoria became official. We know that Victoria's future husband was the King of Spain, but before we continue with their wedding, let us get to know Alfonso better. Alfonso became King of Spain upon his birth, as his father had died while his mother was pregnant with him. His father was Alfonso XII, also known as Alfonso the Peacemaker. His mother was the Austrian-born princess Maria Cristina. Victoria arrived in Spain in January 1906 together with her mother. There they were received by Alfonso, who introduced them to his mother. 2 months later, on March 5, 1906, Victoria, who was raised as Anglican, converted to the Catholic faith as was required for the future Queen Consort of Spain. The wedding followed in May and took place at the Royal Monastery of San Geronimo in Madrid. After the ceremony, the king and queen consort were riding in their carriage through the city as suddenly an assassination attempt was made on their lives. An anarchist by the name of Mateo Moral threw a bomb at the newlyweds from a hotel balcony. 24 soldiers and bystanders were killed and around 100 were left wounded. Victoria only survived the attack because she turned her head towards the St. Mary's Church. Moral fled the city but was found 2 days later. While trying to arrest the anarchist, he killed one of the militiamen before he killed himself. After the attack, Alfonso and Victoria, whose dress was covered in blood from a soldier, were escorted back to the royal palace. The assassination attempt did not do good on Victoria's reputation. She isolated herself and grew unpopular in Spain. A year after the wedding, Victoria gave birth to Alfonso, who became the Prince of Asturias, the title usually given to the heir to the Spanish throne. His birth was overshadowed by the fact that he inherited hemophilia. 6 more children followed in the next 6 years, 4 sons and 2 daughters. The couple's youngest son, Gonzalo, also inherited the royal disease. King Alfonso never forgave Victoria for spreading hemophilia into the Spanish royal family. Their relationship deteriorated and Alfonso began many affairs, allegedly also with Victoria's own cousin, Princess Beatrice of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, although this was only a rumor. With her husband turning towards other women, Victoria turned towards working for hospitals, services for the poor, and education. Soon the First World War broke out, in which Spain remained neutral. Alfonso established an office for assistance to prisoners of war from all sides inside the royal palace. He also tried to save Russia's Tsar, Nicholas II, and his family, who after the Russian Revolution were captured by the Bolsheviks. As we know, he neither managed to save the family as they were executed in 1918. After the war, unrest continued within Spain. In 1931, the Republicans rose to power and declared the Second Spanish Republic. The royal family left Spain on April 14, 1931. They firstly lived in France and later in Italy. While in exile, the marriage drifted apart for good and Victoria and Alfonso separated. Victoria returned to the country she grew up in, the United Kingdom. In addition, she purchased a home in Switzerland. The whole family met again in 1938 for the baptism of their grandchild, Juan Carlos, the future King of Spain. In 1941, Alfonso died of a heart attack and Victoria lived for another 28 years, dying in 1969. She was the last surviving child of her parents. Victoria was buried in Switzerland until in 1985 it was agreed that her remains should be transferred over to Spain. There, Victoria was buried inside the royal vault next to her husband. For Victoria's efforts while reorganizing the Spanish Red Cross, the city of Barcelona erected a statue of her in a nurse's uniform. Many landmarks in Spain, such as a bridge or an opera, were named after her. The Spanish monarchy was restored in 1975 and Victoria's grandson, Juan Carlos, became king.